Hello, everyone. Let's see how many people we have.
Hi, everyone.
They're rolling in, Benjamin.
They're coming. So, hey, welcome to our workshop. Jackie is going to be hosting today, so I'm going to kick it over to Jackie. Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, really? He just now told me this, by the way.
That's right.
This is live. So welcome, everyone. This is our last back to school campaign. Correct, Benjamin? This is the last one that we're doing. Yep. So we welcome all of you, and it's a series. So if you've missed the other ones, this is the last in a series. Know your weaknesses, with vulnerability intelligence. So let's get into. Do we want to wait just a minute? It looks like
let's wait. Let's wait for everyone to join. There's still a lot of people coming in. I can see the number really spinning up. So we'll give it just a couple minutes.
While we're waiting, let's just go over some housekeeping. During the presentation, we encourage you to raise your hand, use that chat button. We've got Alex that will be monitoring that. So any questions that you have, if we're going too quick and you're like, hey, I missed that, we'd love for you guys to get on there. I'm already looking at someone giving us a chat as we're speaking. So thank you. Like I said, this is live. So we appreciate the feedback. And again, if we're going too fast, let us know. Alex will definitely help get those questions answered if myself or Benjamin can't live.
Yeah, and I tried to pick some use cases that are pretty cool. So like one of them, if you've ever heard of that website is dropping malicious files and infecting machines. Well, how can you research that safely? How can you see what the file is? So I'm going to show you how you can do it without being infected and without visiting the site. So I'll show you that. We're going to look at don't kill the messenger. If you want people to tell you that there's something wrong, and when they do, don't kill them. And that's something in the news. So it's like, I couldn't believe it. And then we'll do an investigation on a vulnerability. But I was pleasantly surprised with how well organizations are taking care of it. I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's top of mind. So as long as people are coming in every day with their coffee and checking those reports and making sure they're updated,
yes.
That's what we do, right? We try to get that information out. So these are our photos. This is Benjamin Powell on the left, and you guys know him. He's in every workshop, and myself, Jackie Kelly. So why don't we just give a little brief background?
No problem. So been practitioner for over 15 years at many different types of organizations, from manufacturing to public sector to software development. I worked in San Diego at the Port District. We also had the airport at the time. So maritime operations, biotech. So I've cut my teeth in every single job in IT and ran teams, small and large, and then went over to the other side to help organizations with their security, and have done that for many, many years. So a lot of the use cases and things that I bring to you that you go, wow, that's a really good one. It's because I've experienced those things personally, or my teams have. And a fun fact, I enjoy spearfishing. I haven't gone out. I'm going to go out this weekend. So hopefully next workshop, I'll have another picture with another big fish. So please accept emails from me if you ever get them. I'm not fishing you for your credentials. I just actually catch fish in the ocean. And I'll turn this over to Jackie.
Before you go, hold on. Yeah. What kind of fish is that?
That's a halibut. So that's a big halibut. And I caught it with an actual pole spear, not a gun. So I actually, shot a little spear into it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Here in the Midwest, we don't have the access to do that, I guess.
Yeah, and I owe you a fish, Jackie, still.
So. I know that's supposed to be mine.
That was supposed to be yours, I know.
We had a little bet going, and
I lost.
Showed me that picture and said, sorry, we're eating this. Thanks a lot. So yeah, my name's Jackie, 2 years in cybersecurity, 17 years in marketing. I worked for a couple little known companies, the Kansas City Chiefs in broadcasting, and Coca-Cola for 6 years. And a fun fact about me, if you've listened to any of our videos, all of our marketing videos, my voice is all over them. So you may recognize me as the voiceover. I also sang the national anthem for the Super Bowl parade. And my favorite beverage is Diet Coke. But I wanted to add to this, my favorite food is stuffed crust pizza. I'm like a real healthy person over here.
Awesome.
Yes. And we want to thank you guys for being here. One of our attendees will receive a $100 gift card today from Amazon.com, and it is going to be shopping season soon. So this will come in handy for anybody joining us, one person joining us.
Yeah. So we're going to have some poll questions. I'll let Jackie take over the polls, but the reason why we do this is I want to make sure I have the right context of who the audience is, so I can frame it. If you're a vuln person, if you're an incident responder, red team, blue team, an executive, I want to find out like what makes you tick, because I can explain the situation and the results based upon your view of the world. And that's why we do this. So Jackie, I'll turn it over to you and we can kick off the polls.
Yeah. So we'll post the polls here in Zoom, and what you do is it's confidential. You just click on it's a multiple choice. So back to school, click on which one you applies to you, I guess, and then we'll come with the results. So the first one, how long have you been using threat intelligence? So let's post that, Barrett. Less than 2 years, 2 to 5 years, more than 5 years, or never. And Benjamin, would you say most of the time we get like less than 2 years, 2 to 5 years?
It's more than 50% or less than 5 years.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we'll see in a second. We'll get the results.
Yeah, we're not in control of this part, so we have to just wait for you guys to answer.
Okay, so we see that 29% less than 2 years.
Wow.
24% 2 to 5 years, 33% more than 5 years, and 14% never. So, okay, very cool.
Pretty diverse. Okay, second poll question. My organization leverages threat intelligence for the following use cases. Use cases are very important. Incident response, vulnerability management, strategic planning, third-party risk and management, counterattack and takedown. So go ahead and pick the one that.
There's multiple choice. You can pick as many as you need to.
Pick as many as you need, actually. Pick them all. We'd love to see.
When you're good at an organization, you wear every hat pretty much.
I mean, yeah, we know that. We've done that. So if that applies, just certainly choose those. And let's close it up. We've given you more than enough time.
Okay, and we have 89% incident response, 78% vuln management, 22% strategic planning, 44% third-party risk management, and 17% counter attack and takedown.
That's interesting. I feel like third party, when we first started these, that wasn't as high, and now it's
there at all.
Yeah, it's definitely trending upward. Okay. Third question. How often is your organization leveraging threat tracking? This is a good question. Regularly, it is critical to our security operations and risk management programs. Every so often, only when management asks for the latest threat research, or rarely. It is not currently a priority for us. So this is pretty relevant for today.
Yeah.
I'd love to see. I mean, I don't think people would say rarely, but it could be a new organization.
So we have 71% regularly, 14% ever so often, and 14% rarely. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we'll go over some of that today too. So definitely help you with that.
Was that the questions, or do we have any more?
I mean, I think we have 3 more.
Okay, go ahead. Let's knock them out so we can get into the cool stuff.
Boring the audience. These are very interesting. My organization, this is number 4, and we have 6. So my organization is most concerned with these threat types. Oh, yes.
Nation state, hacktivists, insider threats, ransomware, espionage, domestic crime, brand abuse, or reputation.
Yeah, I feel like brand abuse, they were talking about that a couple years ago a lot.
I wish I could vote. That says like hosts and panelists can't vote. That's a shame.
Which one would you vote on?
I really like the ransomware, the espionage, and the insider threats. Those are the ones that I like the best. So nation state, yeah, is 66%. 41% for hacktivists, 62% for insider threat, ransomware 91%. That's always high.
Yeah.
Espionage 36, 50% for domestic cybercrime, and 59% for brand abuse. So that's pretty cool. So ransomware is always high. Insider threats was the next one. Nation state threats, and then brand abuse. So okay, very cool.
Okay, and we're almost done. My organization uses threat intelligence and attack surface management together or within the same team and program. This is a very interesting question. Yes, no, moving in that direction. What is attack surface management? And that's also the title of one of our web pages that I recently wrote. So,
and the video, the latest video that's out on YouTube.
And the latest video. So if you don't know that, that's okay. It's a semi-new term in the industry. So, you know, I think I even say that in the video.
You do. That's why I'm laughing.
I'm like, on repeat. All right, let's see those answers.
Okay. 33% yes, 19% no, 29% moving in that direction, and 90%. What is attack surface management? We'll send the link today so you can have it.
Okay, last question. I swear, my preferred method for threat investigations is with APIs. Okay, interesting. Sometimes, always, seldom, or never.
So this would be like using the Jupyter notebook and going through and getting the information, because that uses the API.
And Benjamin, I feel like you would say always or sometimes.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Because if it's just a one-off thing, but if I really need to like go global and like figure stuff out, then then it would be always, but it depends. So
okay.
So 48% sometimes, 5% always, 14% seldom, and 33% never. So that's kind of like the way I would look at it as well. Yeah. Okay, we're done with these, right?
We're done. Yes.
Great.
So RiskIQ products can be categorized largely into two categories, both necessary for full external attack surface management. Threat intelligence over on the left, we have Illuminate and Passive Total, and then attack surface management with digital footprint and external threats. And, you know, we're talking a lot about why these are both important for full external attack surface protection. And our latest video actually talks about this too.
Yeah, but the cool thing about this is the reason why we're going to do this is we're going to focus more on the threat intelligence side. And when you look at threat intelligence, it's not just it's you and others, adversaries and allies. So you can look at yourself and say, hey, is this intelligence or this vulnerability that was announced? Do I have it? Does somebody else have it? Does a competitor have it? Does this threat actor have it? So we have all those different types of attack surfaces that you can look at, and you can see where you commingle and where that threat is internal or external to your attack surface. So Jackie, do you want me to take this one real quick?
You know, essentially these, I can take it.
Yeah, we're just going to use an Illuminate today. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, if I leave anything out, please let me know.
Okay.
But you know, at RiskIQ, of course, we have multiple licensing options. And that's, you know, because we understand businesses are all unique and they have specific needs that either they need the full Illuminate option or they need enterprise. And today you will be using Illuminate for the workshop, correct, Benjamin?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And that does include third party.
Correct. I have some third parties in there. Okay. So you have the reputation. So it's the best of everything. So you have the threat intelligence portal where you can look at articles and see how those correspond to you and others. You also have the ability to look at your third parties just like you would look at yourself and see the insights. And insights are different than the vuln intelligence. And when we get into that, I'll explain what those differences are. But yeah, we're going to be using the Illuminate license. Now, the account that we're going to be using is ctw@threattracking.com. I'm going to do some copying and pasting. So give me a second. I'm just going to try to bring up I have it in a text file, but it was behind a bunch of stuff. So let me copy and paste this and make sure that everyone can get in. I'm going to throw it into the chat, okay, to make your life easier. So you can just copy these. So you have now the credentials. So please go ahead and log in. And we're going to be using a couple tools today. So I'm also going to send you those. So I like to show you things on how to solve problems. And those problems can be solved in our tools, but sometimes you don't have full access to some of the things, or it's in another tool that RiskIQ has that we don't show in the workshop. So I give you the ability to do it with freely available open source tools so you can actually get the job done. And you can do it on your own. RiskIQ might allow you to have it all completely done for you, and you just view it and take the results and use them. But I'm going to show you how to fish. I'm going to show you what you need to do to get the job done, so then you can use these in your day-to-day work. Now, some of the Jupyter notebooks I'm going to show you, we did them on the 14th. So you can still download those and make them available. So there was a really good one talking about vulnerabilities. And if you wanted to see if you have the vulnerability or a third party had the vulnerability. So it gives you the ability to use that API and go through and look at a massive scale of all of your third parties and see where that vulnerability exists and which hosts and IPs have it, or if they don't have it, to give you peace of mind. So then you can go back to Reddit and do some fun searching there and not have to, take a request from a manager and spend half of your day to find out that you're fine and your partners are fine. Okay.
Definitely saves time.
So you have all those are in the chat. So now, Jackie, do you want me to take this one, or do you want to take it?
Is this the one?
The disclaimer. So the lawyers rule the world. And with that, we have to give you a disclaimer, because everything that we're doing is based on real live data. So we're investigating malicious things, and these malicious things can hurt your machines, hurt your organizations. So you need to have that buffer between you and the bad thing. And that's why we're using these tools. And that's why I'm going to show you how to investigate a file, maybe a VBS script that gets dropped and executed on machines. I'm going to show you how to do it safely. But remember, you have to use your best judgment and minimize unnecessary risks while interacting with these malicious systems in this workshop, in the labs, and the exercises. So please be careful. It's like getting real experience. Like once you've been certified, you're actually getting on the job training. And we're doing things with live fire. It's like a live fire drill. You're using real ammunition, these real threats that you need to be safe when you're looking at these.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you covered it. Thank you. So if you guys haven't taken the time to read this report, it's definitely something that I would suggest you download and read. It's an easy read. It covers the 5 tenets of security intelligence. And in our past few workshops, we've covered all of them, and we're now at the last one. But if you have the time again, go back. We have our workshops on demand. Go back and listen to them. Read, this white paper as well, and kind of cross-reference the two. Anything else, Benjamin, that you think I missed there?
Yeah, what's really nice is that, like some of these bleed over. So like, for example, the Jupyter notebooks I did last time are relevant this time as well. Yeah. It's just answering a different question, but it's the same notebook. So when you're looking about your vulnerabilities, it's really important to understand that. And I made a mistake. I knew I was going to miss something. I forgot to put a 5 for the I forgot to change the slide title. So I knew I missed something. I was like, I know I missed something. So for knowing your weaknesses, the biggest thing to understand is when you make a mistake or you have a weakness, don't take it that that's the problem. It's a learning experience. You fix it and you move on and you don't make that mistake again. So when you find out you have a problem, don't kill the messenger and you go, okay, thanks. Now we have to adapt and change, because the threat actors are looking for the weakest link. And they're casting these nets very wide to find that vulnerability and attacking. And you'll see that when we do some of these searches, you can find out everywhere in the world where this vulnerability exists. So it's really important to not wait. And when you see these problems, you take care of it right away. You don't just wait years with that problem and say, no one knows about it, no one's seen it, we don't really need to take care of it. And then once it's found out, it's a mad dash scramble and you're blaming everybody and you want to attack everybody that found the vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Not a problem. That's not the problem. So find your weakness and then adapt and overcome that weakness. And that's what we're trying to show in this workshop, is how you can find out where that is and then what you should do about it and what you shouldn't do about it. And we're going to have an example that what you shouldn't do. And if your management isn't educated enough to understand what the problem is, you need to be able to explain it to them so then no one has this problem going forward. And we're going to use something from the state of Missouri and talk about that.
Yeah.
So we're going to say, don't kill the messenger. So I have an article that was put out talking about a website that was dealing with the Department of Education, primary and secondary for the state of Missouri. And they want to arrest and prosecute this journalist who said, hey, you have a problem and social security numbers for teachers are exposed. And here it is, here's how to find it, and told them, and they got pissed. Mm-hmm. And they're going, oh, they hacked the website. And I'll let you decide if it's a hack or not, okay? And then the other one we're going to go through is dropping files. I want you to understand how you can find out if there's a website you find out about that's dropping malicious files. How can you get it safely without having to execute on your machine? Because if you visit there, it's going to drop the file, it's going to run it, and you can be infected. So how can you do it? And then the other one is with Black Friday coming up, I want you to be able to look at a website and say, hey, is that safe to go there? Or no, don't go there. So you can teach your family to say, hey, before you try to get that coupon for Costco for a sale item, you should think twice and examine it with RiskIQ to make sure that it's okay. So you can go into Illuminate, you can do a quick search, and then you can have peace of mind that, hey, it's been around for a while, or hey, this is bad. Don't go there. So that's what we're going to do.
And that's where I really am going to be tuned in, by the way. Like, hold on, what are you talking about with my coupons?
Yeah. But security is it's challenging and it's hard. So we need to make sure that you understand what's out there. And this is what RiskIQ Illuminate gives you. It gives you the ability that you have the visibility. Everything has been digitized. Everything out there is now online. And attackers are targeting you continuously. They're not stopping. So because of this transformation from this hybrid cloud and with COVID, everything went online. You know, the operations that were normally inside, those walls disappeared and everything's out there. So you have to be able to understand your external attack surface, where it is, what's commingling with it, what third parties you're relying upon, things like that. And once you prioritize those insights to say, this is where my problem is, this is where my weakness is, how do I fix it? And once it's fixed, how do I know it's gone? And then looking at your third parties as well. And then you can understand, the workflows and the processes and get those outcomes that you need to be able to scale your defenses. And because it's the internet, you have to be able to scale to understand the entire threat, the entire infrastructure you need to look at, and to be able to take those things and look at a worldwide view of your footprint and everybody else's and where you fit, and then how you can defend against those bad things that we've fingerprinted for you and said, this is all the threat infrastructure that belongs to this bad guy, and be able to take that in. So Jackie, you want to take this one, or do you want me
Go
to?
ahead. This one, I love when you explain this one, actually.
Okay. So when you think about what an organization's made out of, there's two parts. There's the device side, and within the device side, that's like all of your internal systems, all of those things, and you might have endpoint protection to be able to take care of that. And with that, it's doing some malware analysis, some threat intelligence, response insights, and you can see there's Microsoft, there's SentinelOne, there's FireEye, there's CrowdStrike, there's others. And then they will protect those machines or block, and then they push that out to the rest of the organization, and they protect it. But there's another side, and the other side is the digital side, everything outside your organization on the internet. And with that, you want to be able to understand the attack surface and understand those threats and those landscapes of those infrastructures, what's installed, what's running, what's vulnerable and what's not. Graph those relationships and be able to know those global threats, like the tools that the threat actors are using, the infrastructure, the bulletproof hosting they're using, and to be able then to push that out and block those and protect your organization. And that's the digital side. So you have the device and you have the digital side, the inside and the out, and we marry those together. And that's we're the other endpoint. We're the internet endpoint. Okay.
I like how you explain that. Your attack surface is complex and dynamic. The internet is the network. RiskIQ enables security teams to move beyond the traditional security model, beyond the firewall, to protect extended enterprise. The extended enterprise consists of people, infrastructure, third parties, vendors, partnerships, and the whole digital supply chain. So that's what this image is supposed to be representing.
Yeah. So when you think about the external the external attack surface management, there's the two sides, and this is where Illuminate really comes in. You have the pieces that deal with infrastructure and saying these components and these pieces make up this organization, and then they tie together. And that's your monitoring all the changes that are happening on the internet, looking at all the risks, all the exposures, all the third parties, and how I look and how I'm changing over time. And that's your digital footprint, and then the third parties. And on the other side, we're also monitoring those criminals because they play on the same battlefield. They might use tools or share tools among themselves. They might use a piece of software that is hosted that everybody who's bad might use that. And that's nation states, that's hacktivists, that's the criminals, and that's the adversary side. But we also want to look to say where you're commingled, and if an article comes out talking about a bad guy, do I have this, or do any of my third parties have any of that infrastructure in their footprints where they commingle? And we try to show that.
And we'll be showing that later on too.
So when you look at the Internet Intelligence Graph, that's the single map of the internet that RiskIQ has, and we can show you a little piece of it. So we do real-time detection. We look at context on every single asset. We map and score everything, and it's on demand, and it's relevant to you, your third parties, so you can understand where that is. And it's done through automated discovering and continuous mapping of the internet that happens every day, machine learning that once we figure out how to detect something, we scale it so we can scale to understand how it is on the internet. And then our threat researchers are constantly finding stuff, and we're able to go back in time and make those adjustments and say, hey, can I go back to the beginning of time and move that forward and find all that infrastructure? So once we find it one place, we can go back in time and move it forward to connect it in the past to find out other threats that you might have had that you didn't know about. So this is from our unified global attack surface, that tailored intelligence to you and others, the adversary threat infrastructure that we're mapping and tracking, and giving you the ability to defend at a global scale. Because if you know where the bad guy is, you can block all that infrastructure from your environment, and you're inoculated, like having a vaccine, and then no one can attack you because that whole piece of the internet has been turned off from those tools affecting you.
You're no longer weak.
Yep. So we're going to hit these few things. We're going to go through a few slides to say how we do it, because that's the important part. So think of it this way. When the threat actor gets outed and everybody knows where they are and what happens, they adapt, they change. And we do the same. And so everything that we do is based upon maybe a threat actor trying to evade us. And so as we change and evolve, those threat actors are doing the same thing. So the way that we're able to do this is we bring all this information into RiskIQ. So this could be from bringing in the full document object model. So as we visit a website, we actually bring in that full DOM that we understand the cookies, we understand the relationship, what came out, what came in and went out of every website we visit. We have the JavaScripts, the cookies, all the passive DNS that we see the entire banner. We even bring in all the mobile apps, open ports, the WHOIS information records. And we have over 10 years of data. We do over 2 billion web requests a day. So people look at us sometimes and say, I can build that and do it, but you can't scale to the amount that we do. We have, we see over 250,000 new domain resolutions every day, 5.5 million new hosts. We have over 106 billion unique DNS records. And we probably have one of the largest mobile app databases in the world where we've sandboxed and we understand what's happening. So as that data comes in, our security researchers and threat intelligence people will figure out a way of detecting something new based upon, what's installed, what's running, what they're doing, the banners, some infrastructure, maybe some cookies, maybe some scripts that get run. And then they take that to the data scientists and they change our machine learning algorithms to understand that, go back in time and move forward with that data. And as it comes in, we put it into our system and we have our internet data sets, might be passive DNS, trackers, cookies, different things like that. But we also have derived data sets. We have block lists, we have phishing lists, 0-day lists, where all the 0 days are. And then the accomplice list is where somebody's hosting something bad. They're not the bad person, but a bad person put stuff in their infrastructure. Scams, IoTs, malware, domain infringement, and the list goes on and on. So it gives us the ability that if we start with a single piece of malware, we can look to say, oh, that malware was on this IP address. That IP had this cert. That cert was also associated with this domain and these other IPs. And we call this infrastructure chaining. So we can start with one indicator and find the whole chain of everything because we've mapped the internet and we know these relationships already. So what we found out was when we talked to the community, a lot of open source articles, when those were published, people would take those indicators and search in RiskIQ to find additional stuff because we always had more information. Or the article came out and there was some time from when it was published and new indicators were there. The threat actors hadn't changed yet. And we found additional IOCs to investigate. So what we found out was if we could take that and make it that it wasn't just an image with an IP address or a domain name where you have to type it and you might make a mistake, but make it clickable that we can pull all those indicators out for you that you can just click on them and search, it would make your life a lot easier. And then if we find any additional information, we call those, enterprise indicators or RiskIQ additional indicators that will give us the ability to extend that investigation even further from that published article that might not have come from us. Did you say something, Jackie?
Well, that just has to save so much time. I mean, I can't imagine manually having to do that and copy everything and try to throw it in the platform. So
yeah, it can save hours in the day. But the other thing that we did as well is we also gave out some rules that we would do to find out the reputation of an IP or a domain. And now with inside of the advanced search, you can see the actual reputation score. So the last workshop we did, it wasn't there, but we've had a release since then where instead of having to go to the threat intel portal and search, you're going to see as we pivot through and look at stuff, you're going to see new reputation scores. So you're going to know if something's good or bad while you're pivoting through the data. So it's going to save you even more time. Okay, so we're going to start on the first use case. Don't kill the messenger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in. Okay, I'm going to paste something into the chat. Okay, and it is basically I want you to go to base 64 decode. Okay. And I gave you a string. I want you to copy that string and I want you to paste it in, okay? So there's a string and I just want you to copy the string, and I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen for a second because I went a little too far. And I'm gonna bring up my screen at the same time.
Did you show them the answer on accident?
No, I don't think I did. I think I was quick enough to take it off the screen. I hope I didn't. So let me bring up my base 64 decode. Okay. And I want you just to paste it in here. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Oops. Let me zoom in. Okay. And I will now hit decode. Okay. I have a question for you. Do you consider this hacking? Raise your hand if you don't consider this hacking. Okay, so everyone is saying it's not hacking. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and I'm going to play a video. Okay. So you can put down your hands now. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second and I'm going to go back in and share my screen because I want to play a video, and I'm going to say play with sound. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
You are on the video now.
Okay, I'm going to play it.
Okay.
First of all, good afternoon, and thanks everybody for coming in this morning. As many of you are aware, on October the 12th, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, was made aware of a vulnerable on one of its websites storing personal information of Missouri teachers. Through a multi-step process, an individual took the records of at least 3 educators, decoded the HTML source code, and viewed the Social Security number of those specific educators. Upon receiving this notice, DESE immediately contacted the Missouri Office of Administration, ITSD, who programs and maintains the web application to remove public access to the portal and to update the code. It is important to note that these records were only accessible on an individual basis.
Oh, for some reason it stopped. Hold on.
And there was no option to decode Social Security numbers for all educators in the system all at once. We are working to identify the teachers whose information was compromised and any others that may have been compromised. We also do not know why this individual seeking to access, convert, and take personal information from Missouri teachers. But let me be clear, this administration is standing up against any and all perpetrators who attempt to steal personal information and harm Missourians. It is unlawful to access encoded data and systems in order to examine other people's personal information. And we are coordinating state resources to respond and utilize all legal methods available. My administration has notified the Cole County prosecutor of this matter. The Missouri State Highway Patrol's Digital Forensic Unit will also be conducting an investigation of all of those involved. This incident alone may cost Missouri taxpayers as much as $50 million and divert workers and resources from other state agencies. This matter is a serious matter. The state is committing to bring to justice anyone who hacked our system and anyone who aided or encouraged them to do so, in accordance with the Missouri law allows and requires. A hacker is someone who gains unauthorized access to information or content. This individual did not have permission to do what they did. They had no authorization to convert or decode. So this was clearly a hack. And let me address any wrongdoing committed by bad actors. State statute 569.0.
Okay. I'm going to stop this because it's getting me upset. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Could everybody hear it okay?
Yeah, we could hear
Okay.
it great. Yeah,
Okay.
did you see the chats? A lot of people were talking about this.
Okay, I did see the chats were because I couldn't get off of this. The big thing that I was upset about was
Hold on, Benjamin, before
Yeah.
you move, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You are sharing in your notes mode. So like I can do the next
okay, so let me stop again. Thank you, Jackie, keeping me honest.
mode
okay.
that in.
Okay, sorry, am I sharing the correct screen now?
You are, but I think you might be ahead. Is this
I am just a little bit. Okay. So let me just make sure the chat window is back up on my screen. Hold on one second. Chat. There it is. Okay. So what I was like shocked about was what this attack was. What happened was there was we'll go and search this in a second. There were 2 audits done for the state of Missouri. Okay, here's a document from 2015 where it says, hey, there's an optional field that stores the social security numbers, and there's no business purpose to include this information. Maintaining personal identifying information is not necessary for business functions and places students at risk and should a data breach occurs. So they knew about this in 2015. Then in 2016, okay, they go, without a comprehensive data governance program, there's a less assurance that the data management protection procedures in place are effective in reducing data privacy and security risks due to unauthorized access or misuse of data. And then there was another section about the security controls. In many cases, the audit found not all necessarily security controls were implementing, leaving district technology assets, including personal identifying information, at risk of inappropriate access, use, and disclosure. So they've known about this from 2015, that this was a problem. And what was happening was when you visited the login page for these teacher things, it actually stored every single teacher that accessed it along with their social security number, but they were encoded. So if you decoded it, you found out the full URL path of how to access that particular teacher, and there was no password. If you use that string, you got right into that teacher's data. So it was a blatant disregard for privacy, and for the governor to say that this was a hack, I laugh at it because it's not a hack. You saw that if something comes down to your machine, if you view the source of a web page, that's already on your machine, and you're viewing that content on your machine that was given to you by the website. So you didn't take it, it was given to you when you visited the public facing website. And if that's on your machine and there's something encoded on that document object model or viewing the source, that's a poorly designed system. And no matter how many things they've patched, how they've designed it, if it's working that way, it's bad. And that's what happened. So for them to kill the messenger, to say, you have a problem, and here's where the problem is, you need to take this offline, and then they take it offline and they realize, we might have to replace the entire system. If we replace that entire system, it might cost us $50 million to replace that entire system because it's designed poorly. That's what happened. And Jackie, you live next door to them, right?
Maybe.
Well, what state? What state are you in? Kansas.
Am I claiming this? I don't know.
You're not in that state. You're not. That's not your governor, right?
No. Yeah, it's hard for me to look at these audits and see that the right thing was done, showing what needed to be remediated here or fixed, and then it wasn't. So yeah, I mean, that's hard to see. but it's also why we do these workshops. We
Correct.
want to make sure we are giving the information, showing how this could happen, and helping, in case this is happening to your business. So I think, that's the moral of, that's why we're here.
That's exactly. And this is one that when I was thinking about like a vulnerability, I'm going, okay, know your weaknesses. Well, your weakness is that you're storing people's social security numbers and links to those accounts directly on the web page. If you view the source, that was terrible. That was really terrible. So this is looking at that website. Okay. So we want to go through it. I just want to, we'll look at it and we'll see what's happening. And we're not going to find anything from here because the application is the problem. The way it works, the way fundamentally it works, that's the problem. And we're not checking that. But, you can do those same things for sites that you have your family's data stored on and understand if there's a problem or not. You probably have done it already, some of you. I do it sometimes to see, how secure something is. Like if there's sometimes portals for our dental office, like that we use to log in and see the bill and schedule appointments and stuff. I want to make sure that any information that I'm putting in there is not being bled out from the outside. That was like, I was shocked.
Absolutely. Hey, Benjamin, before you get into this, if you are having trouble logging in, please let us know. And Alex, if you could communicate with those folks, I just want to make sure that everyone's caught up to where we're at.
So Alex, were you able to log in with that credential as well? Can you check?
Yeah, I'll double check just to make sure.
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah, because I checked this morning, it was all working. And I just want to make sure that the account hasn't been disabled. If it is, we can go in and re-enable it. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so we can see a little bit larger text on the screen. Okay. Oops, a little too much. Okay. So when we'll go through and I'll explain how it works and you can see. So now we're seeing that reputation score up above and it's unknown because it doesn't show anything unusual or bad with the site. The analyst insights are questions that you as an analyst might be thinking about, like when was last time a subdomain was added? When did the IP change last? Was there a change in the WHOIS records? Has it been put on a block list? This middle section is 6 months worth of time that have passed. The curve on the bottom is the bottom of the month. The curve on the top is the beginning of the month. Each square represents 1 day, and each number represents the number of unique IP addresses we saw on that day. If they're all blue, it means they're routable. If they are gray, it means they're not routable. And you're probably thinking, how can you see a non-routable IP? Well, what will happen is when we go out to a name server, we pull down every single name there and every IP address associated with it. So somebody might be staging something where it has the domain name and it's set to the loopback address 127.0.0.1. And then it goes live. And then if they took it offline again, it would go back. So you might see something as green, which would be routable and non-routable. So this gives you a good way to look at any moment in time to see if there's any gaps in service. If things were loopback, routable, back to loopback, you'll be able to see that type of transformation. Now, this data bar down below is every single piece of data that we've had going back to the beginning of time, which is 2010, June 24th, 2010. And if I select any part of that window, okay, it will refresh the screen and show me that data for that period of time. Okay, so if I wanted to see a particular date range, I'll go back to the very end. And if I choose one date, it shows me just that one date. If I hold the shift key down and choose another date, it will show me just that section. So in researching an incident, you're not generally told when it happened or as it's happening. You're told like a week later, maybe even a month or two later, and you have to go back in time. So this shows you how to filter that data to show you just that time period, okay, to make your life easier. And then to reset it, I can either just refresh the screen or I can click on the data bar again, okay? And now everything's refreshed and I see it all. Now down below, you can see that I have these networks, I have these ASNs. If I hover over them, it tells me who they are. So this is in Capsula, and we tag it over here on the right. So you can see if they're routable, not routable. So you can see, hey, some of these were non-routable for them. So you can actually see what we're seeing. Now, my results might look different than your results. And the reason for that is I might have some data sources that are turned on that you might not have turned on. So like I have Alien Vault turned on. So you can go out to Alien Vault and create a free account. And then what we'll do is when we search for something, we'll go to Alien Vault, grab that data and bring it back in and merge it on the screen for you. So you can see here, Pingly, emerging threats, Kaspersky, Alien Vault all saw this IP address on this day. Other ones you'll see are just Alien Vault. So we try to show you where we get the data from. Sometimes we don't have all the sources. Sometimes we're there, but most of the time we're on all of them. So we try to show the quality of the data. Now, the certificates here, okay, they're all paid certificates. And this is how they're set up. These are their alternative names, how they're established. So everything looks fine. There's a ton of subdomains since it's a government entity. I'm looking at the trackers. There's nothing that stands out that, hey, this is bad, okay? The components, they're pretty up to date. Nothing out there. They had Imperva, which is like a layer 7 type of content filter. So Imperva could have prevented this, but I think the reason why Imperva didn't prevent this is that you might have told it block a social security number, and they might have a regex to say, if I see a social security number, block it. Don't let it go back to the end user. However, if I've encrypted that, if I've encoded it, the Imperva might not have been able to detect that, hey, this was a social security number. And so Imperva could have definitely solved this problem, but they probably didn't have it configured correctly. The host pairs didn't show anything that was going out to something that was malicious. So everything looks great there. So from looking at the website, they might have their security right, but their application was designed poorly and storing PII in the actual page. Okay. Everybody okay, Alex? Everybody logging in?
Sorry, I was getting off mute. Yeah, I tested it. Everything works. I know
Okay.
Nathan Peters had asked about logging in, so I just reposted the credentials.
Okay. So the next one I want to do, the next use case is, have you ever been told, hey, this particular website is dropping files and people are getting hacked from it? And you're going, how is that possible? How can you investigate that? Because if you go to that website, the file is going to be dropped on you, and you can get infected. So so I was talking with, so every 2 weeks we do these workshops generally, and I was talking to one of our researchers, and she was telling me about something, and she mentioned, oh yeah, there's a particular report, and in this report, hey, there was a lot of VBS scripts being dropped, files being dropped. And I went, oh, okay. So then I looked at it and I said, okay, how can I show that to you and show you those VBS scripts? We're not going to analyze the VBS scripts, but I wanted you to understand the techniques that you might need to do to be able to see these things. And then how you would be able to safely grab one of those files and put it like in your sandbox, and then you can detonate and see what happens. So I wanted you to understand how to capture that data and analyze it, okay, in a secure manner that won't infect you, okay? You just want to make the mistake. Don't make the mistake of once you making it executable and then hurting yourself, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these articles, and then we're going to jump into these. So give me a quick second. I'm just going to bring up dropping files. Where is it? Mobile apps.
So while you're looking for that, take a minute and see if anybody has any questions. If you do, post them in the chat, raise your hand. If not, it's a good stall to get Benjamin to where he needs to get to.
I'm here. Okay, so so there was a weekly report, and I'm gonna copy and paste them in so you can have these. Okay, so here's the weekly report. Okay, and we'll start from here. And we have this. There's also initial search as well. Okay. Okay, so there's two searches. So here's a report, and there was this domain that was listed in there. Okay, 969 my XYZ. Okay, and if we take a look at this description, it was talking about these VBS scripts that were being used, and I went, wow, okay, how can I get those? That was what went through my head. And I wanted to see what we can do with them. So I'll show you how we do it on the back end, and then I'll show you how you can do it as not having access to this type of data. Okay, so if we look at this domain, some red flags go off right away.
Yeah.
First of all, the reputation score, 100%. It's bad. Okay. And then we go through the reasoning behind it. And that's like the rules. What rules fire that made this score 100%? It wasn't an indicator report. Okay, that was one. The TLD, the .xyz, we generally see some malicious stuff from there because anybody can go and create one of those domains. And the IP address had been previously bad things have been seen on that resolving IP address. Okay. It's on the block list. Okay, it was only registered 16 days ago. It was updated 15 days ago. And you know what we see here, and it's only been up for a couple days. So like generally the rule of thumb is if it's less than 30 days, organizations will say you can't visit it. They block every single domain for 30 days because if it can survive 30 days, it's generally okay. But if you're doing bad things within those 30 days, somebody's had time to analyze that domain and know if it's good or bad. Okay. Also, we're taking a look, and these domains are in Hong Kong. Okay. So this is a Hong Kong domain. Okay. And if you don't do business in Hong Kong, then you generally aren't going to be visiting these websites. So it's another reason why this could be bad. When we look at the WHOIS records, it's all privacy. You know, there's not much in here. There's no email address. There's no nothing. Okay. There's no certificates associated with it. There's a www, and then there's the regular domain. Now, one thing I want to point out is that as threat investigators, this generally gets overlooked, that every single subdomain could be connected to entirely different infrastructure. Some threat actors will go into a legitimate registrar, hack somebody, and create a subdomain. And that is linked to some bad stuff, but it's really part of a real domain, but that subdomain is on different infrastructure. So if you're really going to do an investigation, you need to look at all the subdomains and verify that they're all okay, because 99% might be okay, but one might be bad. So you need to look at that. Okay. The trackers, let's look at the trackers. I see a mark of the web in here. So a mark of the web, if you're not aware of this, if I'm using IE and might be as well Microsoft Edge, I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically, if I duplicate the website, if I save it, it tells me where the website originated from. And it's like a watermark that gets stored in that web page. And if you don't take it out, then when you publish that website and we crawl it, we visit it, we'll find those watermarks and we'll say, oh, this website is a copy of this other website. And you might see it sometimes when people use templates, like they buy a website and it came from some site. It might be in there. So sometimes it's legitimate, but if you saw your own domain name in there, that would be bad because you might go, well, why is somebody doing it? And we can see that there's a VBS script tag was associated with it. So we know that this website has some scripts in here that are bad, okay? There's 5 components. If I'm a bad guy and I am building some infrastructure to do bad, do I want to stand up stuff I'm not using? Do I want to pay for resources that I'm not going to use? No, you're going to do the bare minimum to get the job done, okay? So when I see a small list of components, that could be a tell, that could be like a tell that it's not good. And I can, if I see mark of the web or HTT track, which is a open source program that you can use to duplicate a website, those are red flags for me, okay? The host pairs are what's going in and out of those sites. So I can see that there's a reference link, and that's it. So, okay.
Hey, Benjamin,
yes,
can you zoom a little bit?
a little bit more? Sure.
Or I'll put glasses on, but
Is that better?
a little bit, yes.
Okay. How about
There
that?
you go. That's
Okay,
perfect.
great. Okay. And then there's no hashes, the DNS. So remember I said we go to the DNS server to bring in all those records. So the A records are the resolutions. Okay, so any A records show up on the resolution tabs, but we have all the other ones. So we can look at the start of authority. We can look at the name servers. See, these are the name servers. And we pull all those entities from the name servers. So we pull everything 100%. And then we understand what's happening. And that's how we understand all these relationships too. Projects. So because we wrote this weekly report, it's part of this project that we can go to. And there's 3 cookies associated with it, okay? So now what we want to do is, I want that script, but I want to get it safely. I don't want to call Jackie and say, hey, Jackie, can you go to this website for me for a second and infect your machine and get the script? That's not cool.
That would be terrible.
No, that'd be terrible. So I want to do it safely. And so the safe way to do it is to examine, we're going to examine, we're going to go directly there. Okay. So there's a way that we can do it. And a way that we can do it is we can go to some place that brings the document object model. And I'll show you like on our backend machine where it is, so you can see how we look at it. But I'm going to paste this into the chat, and then we're going to go through it. Okay. And while that's happening, I'm going to fire up a new window and bring up that other one. I had so many bookmarks that I made a mistake and I opened the wrong one. So let me find it real quick.
That's all right. You're giving people time to catch up.
Yes. So inside of here, go look at the document object model. Okay. So click on the document object model and start scrolling through and tell me, raise your hand when you find out where the file is. You'll see it.
And when they find it, what do you want them to do?
Just raise your hand. Just raise your hand.
Okay. Ooh, we got 2 hands.
Very good.
Come on, people. We got more.
Okay.
Oh, lots of people.
Okay.
Everyone found it around the same time. Someone needs glasses like me. I don't know. You guys can see me. I can't see you, but I keep.
Okay. So as you scroll down, all of a sudden you see right here, and I'm going to zoom in for Jackie's sake. Okay. So as you zoom in, you'll start to see drop file name. Okay. We see the file name. And this is like if you open up an executable in a notepad and you looked at all the binary, all the information that was in here, that's what this write data is. And so all this stuff here is the actual instructions. That's the executable, okay? So if we go all the way down, still going,
Oh my gosh.
it's going, and it's still going. There it goes. So up to that quote, that's the contents of the file, okay? So that was all the contents of the file. And then you can see that it creates the file, it drops it, it writes it, it executes it, okay? So that's what's happening. That's how they do it. But now you have a safe way to go in and grab that file, okay? So you have the ability to go in there and grab it. So let me show you. So this is our back end. So I'm logging into the back end system. Okay, so when we go out and we crawl the system, okay, we're bringing in all those components. So when we bring in that full document object model, it gives us the ability to see what's happening. So I get to see the dependent requests, okay, and everything that happens. I can look at the cookies that were there, the links that it had in there, the headers, all the header information, if there's any certificate, the response and document object model. And if I scroll down, you'll see here's the file, okay? Here's that file information that you saw, okay? I can look to see what the changes were in the DOM, what happened with each piece. I can look at the causes that occurred, okay? What happened with each import of an image or a GIF or this or that. You can see it all, okay? If there's any social connections, and then any other inspection results, okay? I can even see a picture of how the website looked. So here's how the website looked, okay? And it's a Chinese website. So this is how we gather all this stuff, and we have all that stuff, like when we go out to URL Scan.io, we have all that data. It's all in here. But I'm showing you in a way that you can do it for free and you can go right there. So all that type of capability, we have that and a lot more built into the system, okay? So that gives us the ability now to go out and find these things and to be able to analyze these files in a manner that makes it safe for you to look at these things. So that's how you would grab that file that you can then look at the sandbox and do things or go back in time. Because if you had a crawl or you had that document object model from the past, you can see that file, okay? Because it's stored in there, okay? So this is actually gets sent to the client, because that's what everything that's loading into that client is, that document object model. You have what's there, what was happening. And that same sort of stuff you can do with the free tool URL Scan.io and grab some of that same type of data. Not to the same extent, but you can have access to that DOM here, okay? Any questions on any of that? Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is, and this is one that we're going to go through and take some time with, okay? There was a vulnerability that CISA warned about, discourse, where if you have this vulnerable version, somebody can do a race condition and get access to the machine, okay? And I want to make sure that you understand how to examine this and how to see if you're susceptible or not. And when I went through and I looked at all the different third parties that were associated with my account, which has a few different ones, and all the ones that we did for the lab, I was pleasantly surprised. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this first query. So give me a second. Just going to bring this up over here.
Why were you pleasantly surprised?
That people actually did the right thing and it wasn't bad. That's why I was pleasantly surprised. They took care of it. So I was generally, you find a few that didn't do the right thing, like they were susceptible. And I wanted to make sure that we were okay. So I'm just going to give you a couple of these right now. Okay. So if you go to the first one, it's the article. Okay. And then there's a few other ones. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to open up all of these. And then we'll walk through it, and then I can even do a script because we talked about this last time. So if your boss or an executive walks up and says, hey, I just read this article that there's this bad disclosure for the bad vulnerability with discourse. Can you tell me if we have that, if we're using it, or any of our partners are using it? Now you're going, oh no, it's going to take me hours. We talked about this last episode, the last workshop.
Mhm.
So we're going to walk through this, and there's this one vulnerability here. Okay. And if we look at that, that's this NIST publication. Okay. And if you see, it was published on the 20th and it was updated on the 26th. Okay. So we're going to examine it. Okay. So the way it works, I'm just going to take that vulnerability piece and I'm going to show you how I got there. So I just go into the threat intel portal and I'm going to type in that CVE number. Okay. It's as simple as that. So as soon as I type it, it goes out and runs a query to pull this data back. Okay. It gives me the details on it. It gives me a CSS score. It will also tell me, hey, these are the affected components. And then any, if I'm impacted or any of my third parties are impacted, and then the deep and dark web discussions that are happening with it. Okay. And then I can actually go to the details and see more about it. Okay. Now that's just the summary. So now I'm going to drill into it. I'm going to go into the details. And when I go into the details, you get more information. So these are the articles that were published about it. Okay. Here's those components. And then you see some scores over here. So there's a RiskIQ score, which is different than a CVEs score. And the reason why it might be different is that we're also looking at if there was a known exploit, a proof of concept exploit out there, we will link to it. And if there's chatter about it, we'll link to that as well. And if it has both of those, the score goes up a lot more, even if the CVEs score is low, because people are talking about it. There's an active exploit out there that's being used. So the score goes up because that's the low-hanging fruit. And if you have it, that's a way for somebody to get in or chain a bunch of vulnerabilities together to get in. Okay. So from here, you can see the details with it. And if we clicked on one of those pieces, you can see the entire thread of what happened. Okay. What they talked about. And here's the information that was put out. Okay. So I'm just going to hit the back button and go back. So the question is, okay, from the CVE piece, this is a way for us to know if that version of software, okay, one of these versions of software is running in my environment, okay, or a third-party environment, okay? But there's also another piece that we need to talk about, and that is looking at insights. Does anybody know the difference between what RiskIQ calls an insight and a vulnerability intelligence type of CVE piece? Do you know the difference, Jackie? Do you know that this is a real question? If you don't, I'm going to explain it.
Repeat the question.
Okay. Do you know the difference between a RiskIQ insight and a CVE Vuln Intel article?
I feel like maybe, but I don't want to say the wrong answer.
Okay. Well, think of it this way. A CVE is just matching on a version, saying, do I have this version?
Mhm.
However, maybe if I have that version, I have to have if you went to the banner and you looked at the banner and it said something on the banner, or I could send a command to it to get a response back, then I can really know if I'm susceptible or not. Okay. So the insight will do other types of checks, maybe not even CVE related at all. So there might not even be a CVE out there. It
Like,
might
give me an
just be,
example. Like, what's a type of check?
so think of it this way, like with the Microsoft Exchange, Nobelium attack that happened.
Mhm.
If you went to the web page and you were able to submit something and it got something back, you could tell if you were susceptible or not.
Mhm.
So it was like a further check that you could do.
Mhm.
So it checked the banner, and if you submitted something, you got something back, then you can tell if if you have the problem or not.
Right.
So it's a way for us to go through and do that. And if we take a look, we actually have a insight for this. Okay. So if I run this insight, it's empty because it didn't match anything. So if I had one of these beta versions, then I would be able to see it. Or if it was below 2.78, I think as well. So there's a stable 2.78 or one of the betas below beta 6, 2.0 beta 6. Then I had it. Okay, I could be attacked. But what I found out was for patching this, if you went to the admin screen, it was right there on the admin screen, upgrade, update. And it's either you go with the stable or you go with the beta. And then it updated and you're done. It was like fixed very quickly. So it was a very easy fix from the manufacturer to fix this. So I wanted to go through and see how big the problem was. And then I tried to see if I had a corresponding third party that had this vulnerability that we had in the lab. And let's go through and I'll show you how I did it. And then we can go through and I have like 15 different links that went through and looked at every single version that we can go back and see in the world, how big is it and when they fixed it. And we can go through and look at these. So
Benjamin,
yes.
we have a question in the chat. For the CVE, are you answering it? What was the search location in RiskIQ?
Okay, so for the CVE, it's as simple as just going to the main window here. And if you look at the search options, I'm using the intelligence card. So if you have it on advanced search, you won't see it. So you need to make sure you've selected the intelligence card and save it. And then when I type in the CVE, okay, so the CVE was CVE-2021-41163. Oops, and I put an F there, so let me take that off. Okay, so as soon as I search it, if I have the vulnerability intelligence module, it brings it right up and tells me about that CVE. And then I can see how it's affected, if I'm affected or any third parties, and then I can go to the details. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So you can search for any CVE. So there's over 20,000 CVEs, and you can see. And what happens is sometimes the CVEs get published and there's no real information. It's just like a placeholder. So when the actual CISA updates the CVE, so like if we come here, this NIST, when they update the CVE, you'll see a last updated. So we pull that once a day. So on the 26th, when I came here, it didn't talk about the versions that were listed. And on the 26th, they updated it. So on the 27th, we were able to see that version count inside of RiskIQ because we pull it once a day and update. So we get the new list every night.
Like literally yesterday.
Yeah. So literally, no, today's the 28th. So 2 days ago. So yesterday, the information was in there. Yes.
Right.
Yes. So,
wow.
Yeah. So by typing this thing in, okay, so I'll go back to here and I'll show you how I found it. So I'm searching for this, okay? So as soon as I find it, it starts telling me about some components on hosts, okay? So I just clicked on it. I clicked on the value, okay? Now, the one thing that I'm going to show you some URL hacking within our product to get the data to show up nicely. So when I do it, all of these have it, but it's not giving me the version numbers. Okay, if you notice, there's no version number listed next to any of these. So this category CSM, so if I came up here and I took off that category and just left it as query, hold on, here we go. And if I search on that now, I'll see the version numbers. Do you see that? So I didn't leave the category CMS. I took that out. So now the query shows me all these version numbers. Okay. So if I want to see everyone that has version, let's say 224, I'm just going to right click and open that up in another window. So when I do that now, this is everything that's running that version, but I like to see it where I can actually see the versions. So I'm just going just after CMS ampersand, and I'm going to remove that back to the question mark. So now I run it, and I'm going to see all those listed, but I'm going to get the version numbers. So I went through and I found all the version numbers. And I'm going to paste these in. These are all the ones up to 260. And then these are all the ones for the beta ones. And I created all of these. So I can go through and jump to any version and see all the different versions that are out there. Now, if you notice, if I go back to some of the early ones, some of these dates might be like a long time ago, like the 15th and stuff. The reason for that, if I upgrade, if I'm searching for a particular version, yes, at one point I might have had that version on my system, but now maybe I'm on a newer version. And if I'm on the newer version, it's going to show me the first and last date seen. And then the next version will show a first and a last date seen. So it gives me the capability of knowing when somebody patched their system. So as we go through and we're crawling the internet every day, I'm able to see if you, a third party, has updated their systems. And I can see when those changed. So I can track to see what's happening. So if this vulnerability is there and you call your third party and go, you have this vulnerability in your system. Once we scan them and they've patched, we'll see that new date and then they don't have it anymore. Okay. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through some of these and see what was happening. So as I went through, and let's say I'll look at this one. So I'm on the 205 version and I'm going to open this up in another tab. Okay. I went through, and if I look at components, here's that 205. So this person they're really in Toronto. They can be attacked, okay, with this particular vulnerability. But if I went through and looked at others, so I'm going to find one that's like on a beta 6 or 7. So if I go to, let me find one on beta 6. Let me change this to 500 real fast, to view 500. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pick one at random, okay? So I picked this one, and let's see if they've patched. So if I look at the components now, they've patched. So here was beta 6, which was on the 24th they went to, but then a beta 7 came out, so they patched for that one, okay? So on the 26th, they patched. So you can see here's a beta 4, here's a beta 6, here's a beta 7. So you can see on the 7th, they went to beta 6. On the 26th, they went to beta 7. So what happened was I wanted to go through and see if any of the third parties that we had this vulnerability, and I wanted to do it fast. So I said, okay, let me do that script that we came up with last week. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear it out, and we'll start from scratch. So inside of here, and I'm going to zoom in for Jackie because she's going to tell me otherwise. Okay. So in this notebook, Mark, Kendrick, and I were talking. I wanted to just be able to put CVEs in. give me the CVEs, and then you can tell me if there's an article, if I got a hit, and if I got a hit, what were the assets involved with it for myself and for the third party. So I can just copy and paste and email it to them. I can even send the whole workbook and say, here's all the stuff you need to fix. And then they can go into RiskIQ and create an account if they don't have one and see the same information, okay? So in this particular case, it was only one CVE. So I'm just gonna run this, okay? So I'm just gonna start at the top, and I'm just running these cells. Okay, and so as I run this, you'll see the observation count for the CVE for all the third parties that we have set up in our account. They're all 0. There's none. There's nothing there. So everything is 0. Okay. And, you know, I get the versions, I get the information about the article, the components, but nothing's there. There's nobody's impacted at all. So this was the first time I've ever come across an insight or a vulnerability that everyone I looked at didn't have hits on it. So I think everybody understands how quickly they need to fix things. And this was the first time that I was able to observe that myself. So that's why in the beginning I said I was pleasantly surprised, because usually we pick out one person and say, oh, you didn't do it. Shame on you.
Benjamin, tell me, can everybody use this? I mean, this is a special, can they have access to this, or how does this work?
So remember at the very beginning, there was a link to pull down the notebooks, okay, the Jupyter notebooks from the previous workshop. So that was part of like, I'll bring it up real quick.
And that was like an hour ago.
So here we go. So at the very bottom, I have the content, okay, where you can pull down the zip file. And this is part of that zip file, is this notebook.
Okay.
So this is the one where if a manager walks up and says, are we susceptible? You can put in those CVEs and boom, boom, boom. Within seconds, you get the information. You go, yeah, I'll give it to you in 2 hours. And the guy goes, okay, great. And you can be on Reddit. You can look at all your stuff and you can go, oh, we don't have a problem. And then 2 hours later, you go, we're all good. So this is a lifesaver, because now that it's been created, if you have any third parties that you're monitoring, you can check them too. And if you had hundreds, doesn't matter. It will go through and look at all of them and say, do I have any hits on these? Yes or no. And let you know immediately.
Right.
Yeah. So
and you put this in the chat, right?
It's in the chat, and I'll throw it in the chat again. Okay. So let me.
Sorry.
I'm
I'm like that student at the front of the class that's always like, excuse me.
Excuse me, can you make that bigger?
Can you?
I can't see. I'm not wearing my glasses. I'm not wearing my glasses, and I can't see, and I'm sitting in the front of the room. Yeah. So, but I wanted you to see this because this was a huge one. It was a rating of like 10, how bad it was. And you know, it was crazy. And I'm going, okay, if it's this bad, you know, if it's this is such a big problem, you know, okay, we need to talk about it. And so the article I saw was on, came out on Friday. And so it's a week. It's like almost a week later. And no one I've looked at that we're looking at a third party about had it. They're individual little companies, but not one that we had set up as like a third party for our org or for the lab.
They must be taking your workshops.
Hopefully. So
yeah.
I hope this is useful, because it can save you a lot of time and effort to be able to find stuff. Okay.
Are we getting to the coupons?
We're getting the coupons now. Yes, we're gonna go to the coupons.
I'm like,
you're like, oh, you need to do some shopping
over here.
Okay, so I'm going to go through with this, Jackie, and I want you to ask questions. And Alex, if you have anything that you can bring up, you know, please do. Okay.
And also, don't forget, we have that gift card. So
it's true. And at any point, if you want to do the gift card now, we can.
Barrett, what do you think? maybe he's eating some stuffed crust pizza.
Yeah,
Barrett?
let's do it in about 15 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll do it in 15 minutes. So this is going to take us down a tangent, okay, when we're done. And it will tie into one of the Jupyter notebooks from last time, okay? So Black Friday's around the corner, and I wasn't going to have a workshop that featured Black Friday stuff. So I wanted to make sure that you saw this stuff and you can actually tell your friends and family how to do it. You can refer them to this website, you know, or the YouTube channel, and they can, I'll bookmark it so they can go right to this exercise. So there's a domain I saw, okay? Costco redeem rewards -coupon.ca. And it just happens that it was, today's a Canada theme. There's a lot of stuff with Canadian domains. But I want you to tell me if this is legitimate or not. And if not, why? Why is it not legitimate if it's not? Okay. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to go through it. Okay. Okay, here we go. And Jackie, I will let you start. You can tell me, okay? So if we take a look at this domain, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see a little more
I
research.
was gonna say, I gotta get on then.
Okay.
I'm not-
So
not-
you can you just look at my screen?
Okay.
So if you look at my screen, anything that comes out as being like suspicious or saying that it might not be the right thing.
I mean, there's some red that's screaming out at me. There's some.
Okay, so red. So what is it? So the red, can you read what the red says?
Well, it says the reputation scores 100.
Okay, which means don't go there.
That's the worst you can
So
have.
if you gave this to a relative and they signed up for a free account, they can put in that domain. And
Yep.
if it says suspicious or malicious, don't go there. It's really simple. And
Pretty much.
you can see up at the top, block list, which means we're blocking it. We don't, that's when it goes on our block list, Google and Microsoft put it on their block list within 10 to 15 minutes. So if we say it's bad, they just take it and put it in production right away. Okay. So then 95% of the world's browsers won't go there, because if you try to, it's going to, if you're using a modern browser, it's going to use either Microsoft or Google's block list, and then it won't go there. It will say, hey, warning, do you really want to go there? And if you really want that coupon, maybe, but it's not advisable. Okay, it's bad. The Insight said it was block listed 3 months ago. Okay, and it's resolving block list, which means comes and goes, the IPs may change. Okay, now if you take a look at the resolutions, it's in the US. Okay, nothing suspicious about that. We'll take a look at the who is. Okay, it's all been redacted for privacy, but with the history, I can look to see if there was anything prior to GDPR, for example, but nothing's in there. Okay, there's 2 certificates. Anything that stands out is something that might be a red flag.
Let's ask everybody that's participating
Okay,
if somebody can figure it out. So the pressure is off me a little bit. So ask the question again.
okay. So is there anything unusual or a red flag about the certificate?
Oh,
Let's encrypt. Yeah.
Yeah,
So a free certificate authority doesn't mean it's bad, but it's like if you start adding all these things that, hey, it's been blocked, it's using a free certificate authority, it was only online for a couple days. All these things are the tells of something that's not good. That like
Right.
They start adding up, and when you get enough, then you go, okay, I can make a recommendation. And usually we call these points of proof, and generally you need 3 points of proof to make a decision. Okay, and if you know, for example, it's using a less encrypt certificate, that's suspicious. It's only been online for a few days, that's suspicious. It's been blocked. Okay, that's right there. But let's take a look at another one. Go to trackers. Okay, so do you see what's up on the screen? Do you see this right here?
Yes.
What that means is that this particular domain, on that domain, when we crawled it, we saw a reference saying that the website was duplicated of the Royal Bank of Canada. Okay. And with that, that's another red flag. So those three things right there are going, this isn't dealing with, that's not the Royal Bank of Canada, it has nothing associated with them. It's in the US as well. Okay. It's not good. So you
Right.
shouldn't go there. Even if you didn't see the reputation score, those things alone are enough to tell you this is bad. Okay. So what I want to do is, now that's the easy way to figure out if something's good or bad, but we have some extra time. And so what I want to do is I want now to investigate this, the things that we see here and try to figure out what we can do with it. So when the mark of the web was first publicized for security research, it was the United States Senate, okay? Their security group had identified that Senator McCaskill was being hacked by a Russian group.
Wait, is this Missouri again?
Yes, it was Missouri again. Yeah.
Why are you picking on Missouri today?
So it just happens that's where it was from. So
Come on.
and Jonathan Krinsman, while he was alive, he was one of our best threat investigators and found Magecart. I was talking with him and he goes, hey, there was this mark of the web thing. And I go, can we find it? And he goes, yeah, we can easily find it. We can find every single website that has a mark of the web. So he went out and he created, he talked with the data scientists, and they went out and they pulled in all of these mark of the webs. And it was this full path. So in that mark of the web is this full path, okay? However, if you click on this, if I open this up on another tab, it doesn't work. It doesn't bring anything, okay? Oh, it does now. It didn't used to be able to bring those things back. It failed, okay? So what we did was I said, hey, can we pull that out to find the host? And that's the domain. That's the first part up to the first slash. And that was searchable, okay? So once we did it for the mark of the web, we also did it for HTTP track because they work similarly. And we went, okay, if someone's duplicating a website and it's your website that they're duplicating, that's really bad. And we want to make sure that we can find those things and we can make sure that somebody's not copying, because this is how they can duplicate your website, take it offline. They're not pulling any of your images or anything, and they attack you. So they're not linking directly. They've copied it and they've published it, and you don't even know about it. It can be anywhere in the world. So if you right click on this one and open another tab, you will see this result. So I'll explain it to you. So we're looking for trackers that have your name in it. So if you look up here, if you copy this URL and you change the very back part where it says equal, and you type in your domain, like if you have a login to your domain, what I would do is that's the URL, that's the domain you use. So if it's login.blah.com, that's what you would put in there. And if you search for this, you can find out if anybody in the world has duplicated your website and put it on the internet, okay? And there's one for the mark of the web and there's one for HT track. So this one happens to be for the Royal Bank of Canada. So if we take a look, this is what it looks like. This is the actual website to log in. This is the real one. So what someone probably did was say, hey, Royal Bank of Canada space login, found it, and then they took this, this URL and they duplicated it. So they saved it. So if we went to file, save page as, and they saved it for offline with inside of like IE, that would be mark of the web. So I can view it offline or I can publish it. Okay. The HTTP track, that is a free online tool. that I used many times when we were administrating websites. We would copy them. You go from dev to QA, QA to production, and we would copy them. And I didn't know that that little piece was in there. So even if you're using it legitimately for your organization, you could be bleeding internal data. Because if I'm copying it from QA and moving it to dev and from dev to production, those places where it lived could end up on the outside world. And people would start to learn your naming convention or different information about those systems. So just bear that in mind, okay? That if you're using it, you want to sanitize it, you can actually edit the HTML and just erase that. And so then it's not in there, okay? But for these threat actors, they're just, spraying and praying. They're trying to cast the biggest nets and do it. So they're using these types of tools, or other tools are utilizing these free tools inside their own pieces to duplicate websites for like phishing campaigns and stuff. Okay. So when we go through and we look at this, let's try to examine some of these. So what I'm going to do is let's look at the real website. Okay. And we're going to look at two different methods of how the Royal Bank of Canada is being attacked. Okay. So if you search on this one and we look at the host pairs, okay, the host pairs are what's coming in and out of all of the websites. So right here, I'm just going to minimize this just a little bit to get a little more real estate. Okay. So you'll notice that there's some IP addresses that are reached. So the way it works is you have parent child. So think of it this way. If you're the parent and your child has something, if you tell your child to give it to you, are they going to give it to you? Yes,
My child?
No. I'm just saying, like, ideal child. They would give it to you, or you would punish them and take it from them anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to go in and grab it and bring it back. Okay. If your parents told you, hey, give me that, you would have to give it to them. Okay. So they can reach to you. So there's this parent-child relationship to know, like how to figure out like where it's coming from, where it's going to. Like if I'm the child and my parent asks for something, I'm giving it to them, or vice versa. So like if we look at here, this IP address, okay, and I don't know what this IP address is. Let's just look at this real quick. Is reaching in and grabbing it. So, hey, it's been blacklisted. It's involved in phishing. Oh, wow. Never believe that. So this one's coming in and grabbing images. So this IP address is grabbing different images. It also brought in the style sheets, okay? The CSS style sheets. So we can look really quick. It's pulling in scripts. It's pulling in all the information, okay? So it's very simple and easy to look at this and start understanding who's reaching in and doing stuff, okay? But the HTTP track stuff isn't showing up here because they're copying that on their own machine and then publishing it. So it's not seen here. It's another way of detecting, to be proactive. How can I be proactive? Well, I can look at the host pairs and see who's pulling images, who's pulling my style sheets, things like that, and then looking at those and blocking them, or running some scripts to find them and block them. Or I can go run the HT track search and look at myself and see if anybody's duplicated my website, or do a mark of the web one to see if I'm being attacked as well. So let me duplicate this. So I'm going to duplicate this website. Duplicate. Okay. And I think this one, if I change this to be mark of the web. Let me see if this one's the right one. Let me find an example real quick. Mark of the web.
I like your little shortcuts, Benjamin.
All the ones I've done over time.
I mean, you just like cruise through them, but I'm sure they're new.
I've used them so many times. So these are
Yeah.
all mark of the web. So like if I, let's look at one.
Oh, come on.
Trackers, where's trackers?
This is like pick on Missouri Day.
Is it another Missouri one?
Look at the website.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know.
I swear you set this up.
No, but it's just like, it's funny how when it rains, it pours.
I guess.
Okay, let me find a different one. That's not a good one.
And where are you going? You're just,
I'm trying to grab the URL path. So
you've
see
already
if
got
you
these
can do it.
saved.
So I already have it done. So let me find one. Because once I have the path, then it will work. Here we go. Mark of the web content. So all of these have had a mark of the web in there. So let me do a couple of these. Trackers. Mark of the web. Here we go. Host. Open another tab. Okay. So here it is. So here's one for RCI. Oops. And where is the chat? I'm going to throw this one in. Okay. So here's another one. So if you edit this and we put in what we had before, so let me move this over. And I'm just going to copy this from the Royal Bank of Canada. And let's look to see if there are any mark of the webs for it. And here we go. So now with these two, so I have the one for HTTP track, and these are the ones that were done with Microsoft, okay, with the mark of the web. So now I have these things listed. I have 695 of them on Microsoft, and I have 479 that are on HTTP track. So proactively, I can go out and do this. And if you notice, they're being blocked right away by the Royal Bank of Canada. So they are on top of their stuff, okay? So you can see as quickly as they pop up. So this one was on the 20th, they were taken down. First, last seen, same day, taken down. The 11th, taken down. This was up for 3 days, 5 days. But if you just have this query run, you can immediately look and see. So every morning you can just have this up saved as a favorite and just open it up and you can look at your own stuff. And that's how you can be proactive, or a third party if you wanted to, and say, hey, you're being phished. So it's a combination. So I'm going to run a script now that looks at the other ones. Okay. So inside of here, okay, and I'm going to stop this and clear it out so you can see it. So I'm going to clear all the output. So what I did here was I told it to put in the Royal Bank of Canada, okay? And then I didn't even create a whitelist because I had done this before with Navy Federal, okay? So I didn't even do a whitelist because it's going to do a reputation score and it's going to tell me what's good or bad based upon that reputation score. So if it's my own stuff, it will show up as probably a neutral, okay? So I'm now going to run this. So I'm going to come in here and say, sell, run all, okay? And we're going to see it run. And everything with a number means it ran. Everything with an asterisk means it's still running. So it's going to pull in all the host pairs, and then it's going to do some analysis to say, hey, which ones are there? And give me the reputation scores for them. So here it goes. So now I get all these different domains in here and all the different types of causes of why there was a connection. And then it goes through and it starts looking at these a little more detail and gives me all the list of all of them. And if I see an IP address, that's a red flag right there, because why would I have a website linking to me that's an IP address? Usually it's a domain name because you can change it. If it's an IP address on its own, that's bad. That's usually 100% bad right off the bat, seeing that, okay? Coming down some more, here's that complete list. And now it starts giving me the suspicious and malicious, the number of days that something's been online, okay? And then here we go, done. So I get all these malicious ones. And so what I did was I took these domain names and I said, give me the link of what, give me the list of what they did. Images, links, CSS, XML, HTTP requests. There were some scripts and a redirect. Okay, here's some other ones, some unknowns that couldn't figure out. And you can see all the different places where they're connected. Okay, but these were all the ones that were 100% malicious. And I'm done. My investigation's done. So this is all the other ones that are linking to my infrastructure, building a page and pulling in the latest images to make it look just like the real page. And potentially when I type in the username and password, it's redirect me to the real site. So I don't know that I've been compromised. So this is a way for me to look at those. So now I have 3 separate ways to be proactive. I can run the script and see it, or I can manually go through and look at them. But this is just a simple thing. It's done. It took a minute.
Yeah.
And I can run another one to do the same for the mark of the web. But if I'm on top of it, as soon as I open up that page, I'll have the latest data.
I mean, how much time do you think that saved?
Oh, this saved probably 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
6 hours worth of time at minimum. But like when I originally did this, I did it with PayPal and there was 1 million host pairs. So if I have to go look at 1 million host pairs, it might be a month.
Yeah.
Because every click takes time. This is instantaneous. But what the nice thing is, once it's built, Jackie, I can give it to you and I can say, hey, anytime you want to check to see who's phishing, just run the notebook.
I got it.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Your skill level doesn't matter because
Send it over.
the expertise that takes to make it, you do it once and you run it many times.
Sure.
Okay? Hey, are there any questions on what we're seeing, or if you want to go into greater detail on anything that's come up? And Alex, were there any questions like looking at the phishing piece?
I think you did a good job of covering everything, Benjamin.
Okay. Okay. Well, this mark of the web is just amazing. So the way, so I'm going to just move these off the side and let's find some stuff. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up another page and let's look at Netflix login. Okay. So if I do this, okay, I see Netflix login. So I see this domain right here. Okay. So if I copy this and I come in and I copy the URL and I just edit it to be Netflix and I hit enter, here's everybody that's duplicated Netflix. Here we go. Done. Okay, this is with HT track. Let's look at mark of the web. Here we go. Done. So if I came in here and said, login Uber. Okay, so if I go login, I'm just making sure that it's the same one. Okay, so I'm going to copy it and I come back in and I paste it in. Here we go. Here's some for Uber. Let's look at mark of the web. There we go. So this is how you do it. It's that simple.
That's interesting.
So you can build them for all the ones that you deal with.
Yeah. This was very valuable today. Thank you.
Yeah. So, but the big thing for Black Friday is to really be safe out there. And we still have a couple minutes. I can show you a mobile app for like bad crypto. Do you want to see that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people would.
Okay. So a friend of mine just made some money from what was that Shibu whatever crypto thing, took off yesterday. And I was warning him, I said, hey, you have to be careful because if you're not doing the right thing, you could be attacked. You could lose all your crypto if you used a wallet that is really bad. And so I found some. So let me bad crypto. Let me open these up. Let me log in real quick. Okay, so this is not part of Illuminate. This is part of our digital footprint, external threats, where we can actually look and track and see all these things. Okay, so what I did was I went in and I said, okay, I want to find anything that has a title. Okay, let's do a title contains crypto. Okay. So I get all these cryptos. And then I came through and I said, I want to find the ones that are blocked. Okay. And I want to find the ones that have Trojans. So here we go. So we have over 30, it was like 37 million mobile apps in the database. So when you think about the app stores, you have primary, secondary, and affiliate. So primary would be like a Google or an Apple. An affiliate might be like a Sony, where they have the app stores, but they're really going to the real place. I think the affiliate ones are ones where they're hosting the actual APKs. Or the secondary is the ones they host the APKs, and the affiliates might have both, some that they host and some that they link to. So there's different types of mobile app stores. There's like over 300 around the world. So when we look at some of these, we can look here and you go, well, I don't speak this language. I don't even know what it is. We can translate it immediately and see. But when you start to look at the permissions, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. You can see this particular mobile app is getting accounts. It's being able to track where you are. It can access your network state, read your history and bookmarks, a lot of stuff. Okay. And the crazy thing is, this is where it's stored. This is where it is. This is actually on the Google App Store. Okay. But when we look at, why it's blocked, we can see it's doing adware. There's some Trojan. So different antivirus vendors that have looked at this and said, hey, this is what it is. We even have the versions. So we have the actual APKs, and we even know what files are in there. So like, for example, if you wanted us to monitor your mobile apps, we would look at all your files, and then we can see if anybody's in any of your files in any other APKs, for example, or duplicating your stuff. One of the neatest things I ever saw was somebody was taking free apps and changing them, posting them online and saying it's the new version for $1. Some kids, and they were making money off of it. It was, but we can even tell you if that stuff is happening. So it's really important to be able to view and understand what's good and what's bad. And I have to zoom out so I can actually close this. So give me a second. So we have the ability to go through and find all these very quickly. So let's look at.
Hey, Benjamin.
Yeah.
We have like a minute left, and I want to know.
Okay. Please do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So if she is still on, I believe Jennifer D. You are our Amazon gift card winner, and Barrett will be getting in touch with you after this. And then the other thing I wanted to mention real quick is we have a special edition workshop on November 9th, I believe.
Yes, November 9th.
Okay. And you'll be hosting that one again, Benjamin.
And Josh will be back. So somebody asked, hey, where's Josh? He couldn't make it to this one, so he'll be back at the next one with us.
That's right. And it's a special one. Why?
We're actually going to do it with Microsoft, and we're going to talk about how we integrate with Defender and with Sentinel, and show some of the like ransomware use cases where we can extend those investigations.
And Barrett just posted a link to that. So if you were signed up to Back to School series, you need to, those are done. You'll need to re-sign up for this one because it's special. At least I think it's special. So Benjamin, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no problem. But that's so we ran out of time. So next time we can even do one that's all mobile app related as well.
Yeah, I would love that. I think that's interesting. So anything you want to tell us about Illuminate and
yeah, so let me bring up to kick off a trial. So let me throw that in the channel real quick. So if you want to continue your studies with this, you can go out to community.com/learn-more/illuminate, and you can get a trial license that will last for 30 days and see your own organization and to be able to start that journey. So I want everyone to go out, listen to Jackie's videos that are here, and you can sign up today and continue your education and gain real world experience to make the internet a safer place.
And we'll send you the white paper. We'll send you the videos.
And the presentation will be available and the recording will go up on YouTube later on today or tomorrow.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Unless you have something else, Benjamin, we're at time.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.